Okay, let's unpack this. On July 16th, 2025, Israel launched multiple airstrikes right into central Damascus.
Yeah, pretty significant targets, too.
Right, the defense ministry, the general staff compound, even areas near the presidential palace. But the really surprising part, the thing we need to focus on here, is the reason Israel gave for these, quote, painful blows.
Exactly. It connects directly to a specific group across the border, the Druze.
Which many people might not know a lot about.
Right, and this deep dive is really about understanding how this group, the Druze, suddenly became the stated catalyst for such a major regional move and what it all means.
Okay, so we know the strikes hit these key Syrian government spots. And sadly, there were civilian casualties.
Yes, at least one killed, nearly 24 injured reported.
But Netanyahu and the defense minister, Israel Katz, they were very clear this was a warning. What was the actual message, the stated goal?
Well, this is where it gets fascinating. Officially, Israel said it was about protecting the Druze communities across the border, specifically in southern Syria, in Sweida.
Protecting them. From what?
From clashes with Syrian government forces. There have been these really serious, deadly sectarian clashes erupting. So Israel framed it as strategic deterrence, basically telling Syrian troops, don't advance into these Druze areas south of Damascus.
Oh, protecting kin across a border. That's quite a justification. So to really get this, we need to talk about the Druze themselves. For anyone listening who isn't familiar, who exactly are the Druze? Why are they so central here?
That's the key question, really. They're a small group, but politically quite significant, an ethno-religious group, so it's about both ethnicity and their distinct religion.
Based mainly where?
Primarily Syria, Lebanon, and Israel. They actually started as an offshoot of Ismaili Shia Islam way back in the 11th century.
And they have some unique beliefs.
Oh, yes. Known for being a closed community you can't convert in, generally. Big emphasis on reincarnation, very strict community ethics. In Syria, there are about maybe 700,000 Druze, mostly in Sweida province. That's seen as their heartland.
And historically, they've had some independence there.
They have, yeah. Kind of semi-autonomous status, traditionally.
Okay. Now, during the main Syrian civil war, I remember the Druze mostly tried to stay neutral, form their own local defense forces, that sort of thing.
That's largely correct. They tried to navigate a very difficult path. But things have changed recently, especially in 2024, 2025.
How so?
Well, we've seen these internal uprisings, particularly Druze youth movements, really pushing back against the Assad regime. It's been called the Sweida revolt.
What sparked that revolt?
Mostly anger over the terrible economy and also military conscription. Young people just felt they had no future. And this revolt, it intensified, led to clashes with Bedouin tribes, but also critically with pro-regime forces.
And that's the situation Israel cited as the reason to step in.
Yeah.
Because of those cross-border Druze connections.
That's the stated link, yes.
Yeah.
Those deep family and community ties across the border.
Which brings up another really tricky point. The Druze inside Israel.
Exactly. It's not straightforward at all.
Because many Israeli Druze serve in the IDF, right? They're Israeli citizens.
Many do, yes. Very integrated into Israeli society in many ways. But then you have the Druze in the Golan Heights.
Occupied territory since '67.
Right. And many Druze there have actually kept their Syrian citizenship. So imagine the situation. Israel acts supposedly to protect Druze in Syria, potentially against a Syrian government that some Golan Druze still identify with. It creates this huge potential crisis of loyalty.
It's not just abstract politics, then it's deeply personal.
Deeply personal, absolutely. Makes Israel's stated reason feel even more loaded, maybe even risky.
So how did Damascus react?
Predictably, I imagine.
Oh, yeah. Swift condemnation. Called it a breach of sovereignty, warned it would destabilize things even further, which, is understandable from their perspective.
And internationally? Any major reactions?
Concern, mostly. The U.S., the UN, the EU, Turkey.
Yeah.
Lots of calls for restraint, for a ceasefire. Nobody wants this to escalate further.
So if we step back, connect the dots, these strikes, they show Israel getting maybe more deeply involved militarily in Syria than before. It certainly looks that way, driven perhaps by strategic concerns, wanting strategic depth, but also, as they stated, by this concern for their Druze minority and their kin across the border.
And the risk, as always in that region, is spillover.
Huge risk. Into Lebanon, the Golan, maybe a wider Syria-Israel conflict. It really shows how these local, almost sectarian clashes, like in Sweida,
can suddenly blow up and pull in the big regional players.
Precisely. It's a tinderbox.
So, wrapping this up,
Well,
what does this deep dive really tell you, our listener? It shows how a conflict that seems localized, rooted in the identity and struggles of one specific group, the Druze.
A group you might not have thought much about before.
Right. How that can escalate incredibly fast, drawing in major powers and just highlighting how fragile everything is in the Middle East, the alliances, the old wounds.
And it leaves us thinking, doesn't it? In this world where conflicts are so tangled up, when an outside power steps in, even if they say it's to protect people, how does that actually change things on the ground? How does it reshape loyalties for the communities caught in the middle? What part of this whole story stands out most to you?